Chapter 3. Opportunity is an open door. No man or woman is kept poor because opportunity has been taken away from them, because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may be shut off from engaging in business in certain lines, but there are other channels open to you. Probably it would be hard for you to get control of the automobile industry. That field is pretty well monopolized. But the telecommunications industry is still booming and offers plenty of scope for enterprise. And it will be but a very few decades until traffic and transportation through space will become a great industry, and in all its branches will employ hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of people. It is quite true that if you work as an employee of an oil company, you have very little chance of becoming the owner of that company. But it is also true that if you will begin now to act in a certain way, you can soon leave the employ of the company. You can buy a computer and a fax and engage in a business out of your own home. There is great opportunity at this time for people who will think, act, and work in a certain way. At different periods, the tide of opportunity moves in various directions according to the needs of the whole and the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. At present, the world is setting toward telecommunications and related industries and professions. Today, opportunity is more open to the computer user more than the factory worker. It is open before the business person who supplies the computer user more than the one who supplies the factory worker, and before the professional who waits upon the computer user more than before the one who serves the working class. There is abundance of opportunity for the person who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. So the factory workers, either as individuals or as a class, are not deprived of opportunity. The workers are not being kept down by the company executives. They are not being ground by the trust and conglomerates. They are where they are because they do not do things in a certain way. The working class may become the master class whenever they will begin to do things in a certain way. The law of wealth is the same for them as it is for all others. This they must learn, or they will remain where they are as long as they continue to act as they do. The individual worker, however, is not held down by the ignorance or the mental inertia of their class. They can follow the tide of opportunity to riches, and this book will tell them how. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, out of which all things proceed. New forms are constantly being made, and older ones are dissolving, but all are shapes assumed by one thing. No one is kept in poverty by a shortness in the supply of riches. There is more than enough for all. A palace as large as the Taj Mahal might be built for every family on earth from the building material in the United States alone. And under intensive cultivation, the European community could produce wool, cotton, linen, and silk enough to clothe each person in the world, finer than Solomon was arrayed in all his glory, together with food enough to feed them all abundantly. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply really is inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, out of which all things proceed. New forms are constantly being made, and older ones are dissolving, but all are shapes assumed by one thing. There is no limit to the supply of formless stuff or original substance. The universe is made out of it, but it was not all used in making the universe. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, with the formless stuff, the raw material of all things. 10,000 times as much as has been made might still be made, and even then we should not have exhausted the supply of universal raw material. No one, therefore, is poor because nature is poor, or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. Original substance is alive with creative energy and is constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building material is exhausted, more will be produced. When the soil is exhausted so that foodstuffs and materials for clothing will no longer grow upon it, the land will be renewed or more soil will be made. When all the gold and silver has been dug from the earth, if humanity is still in such a stage of social development that we need gold and silver, more will be produced from the formless. The formless stuff responds to the needs of humanity. It will not let us be without anything good. This is true of human beings collectively. The race as a whole is always abundantly rich. And if individuals are poor, it is because they do not follow the certain way of doing things which makes an individual rich. The formless stuff is intelligent. It is stuff which thinks, it is alive, and it is always impelled toward more life. Formless substance has the natural and inherent impulse of life to seek to live more. It has the natural of intelligence to enlarge itself, and of consciousness to seek to extend its boundaries and find fuller expression. The universe of forms has been made by formless living substance, throwing itself into form in order to express itself more fully. To use the metaphor of the old Mattel vacuum toy, will give you a visual image of just how easy you can produce your needs and wants from seemingly nothingness. The vacuum was a toy in which one took a sheet of plastic, which was heated, then placed over a metal, such as in the shape of a car, then drawn down by a hand pump, which created a vacuum, thus molding the formless plastic into the shape of a car. So too with your thinking. You take a mental form of your desire and lay it into the formless substance, a living vacuum, and apply mental suction by thinking and acting in a certain way, and you have molded that which is what you desired. Summary. The universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently toward more life and fuller functioning. Nature is formed for the advancement of life. Its impelling motive is the increase of life. For this cause, everything which can possibly minister to life is bountifully provided. There can be no lack, because higher intelligence cannot contradict itself and nullify its own works. You are not kept poor by lack in the supply of riches. It is a fact which will be demonstrated a little further on, that even the resources of the formless supply are at the command of the man or woman who will act and think in a certain way.